Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The Australian heavyweight Lucas Browne rides again, getting a stoppage win against Faiga Opelu in a card in Australia. So Opelu, a domestic rival of Browne's, was actually bossing this fight for half of it, but then started to fade badly and Browne took over. So really was a tale of two halves, and we'll get to that. But on the strength of this win, and I'm not going to say performance because Browne looked bang average at times and he's there for the taking, but getting a win was crucial for Browne in his next steps because he's chasing paydays overseas and he needed to win to keep getting, those sorts of calls where someone can go, well, he's just had to come off a good win in Australia. He's a guy that's held a version of a heavyweight title, name recognition, all that, and then Browne can get that payday offshore. So I think this is what's going to happen on the strength of this win. But in terms of what promoters overseas would have seen, Browne certainly looks all of his 42 years old now. So he had a huge reach advantage of about 7 or 8 inches. The height was roughly about the same as well, 6 inches or so. Opelu just was able to do a lot of what he wanted to do in those opening 4 rounds. Browne looked slow, sluggish. The defense was not good. He was getting hit a lot. He was getting out-jabbed. He seemed to be smiling a lot at Opelu, who was tattooing his face with the jab and landing right hands. Opelu's movement, and not just in terms of around the ring, but his head movement, the feints, it was giving Lucas Browne fits. He wasn't able to have much success in those first 4 rounds. It was pretty easy to score. But then, almost as if a switch was flipped, Opelu basically seemed to be taking round 5 off, and Lucas Browne started to come into the fight. He landed, some good jabs. He was back on the jab, a punch that was basically either neglected or was missing frequently in those opening 4 rounds. And then he landed some good right hands, a couple of uppercuts in that round. It was the clear Lucas Browne round. And after that, Faiga Opelu just went downhill, gassing badly. It wasn't a case of taking a round off. He had basically blown his load in the first 4 rounds, expended all his energy. And this was not a high-paced fight at all. If you caught this fight, you would have seen that, relatively speaking, it was at a pretty sedate pace. Lucas Browne and Faiga Opelu weren't exactly sort of, going to war or anything like that. They were moving around a little bit, but there were often stretches where they weren't doing too much. Lucas Browne wasn't expending a whole bunch of energy. He was missing a lot, but then again, he wasn't also throwing a lot. So he was a lot of one-off sort of stuff. He was not able to let that right hand go, but post round 5 started to ramp it up. Best punch of the fight, I think, for Browne in round 6, this big right hand, and it was a much more competitive and even round, getting the best of the action overall. And round 7, Opelu went downhill quickly. A case that you could see he was literally fading before our eyes. And Browne caught him with a couple of big shots, right hands, right uppercuts, and he smelt blood. And he went to work, pinned Opelu on the ropes, and just let his hands go. In the end, it was a big left hook that was the punch that put him down to the canvas, and he was done. The towel comes in, Lucas Browne gets the win, 7th round stoppage. So overall, it's a win. I'm not going to really say it's a good performance because he looked all of his 42 years old in those first 4 rounds. He was getting outboxed, outworked, outlanded, out everything. Lucas Browne looked terrible in those opening rounds. But to his credit, he persevered and he came back. He rallied and he took advantage of the man in front of him, 15 years his younger, and was able to put it on him and take him out in the end. So Lucas Browne gets another W here. This will get him a payday somewhere. But it is one of these things, we just have to keep expectations in check, because a win here against a domestic guy who, someone asked me on Twitter, how good is Faiga Opelu? And I basically sort of said, he's effectively, if you're from the UK, Mark Bennett level. So strong, tough, durable, but, about English level. I mean, maybe for an American example, he could be that Rodney Hernandez type level. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's tough, strong, got some skills, but ultimately there's a level. So Lucas Browne was able to prevail in the end here, but obviously his days in the ring are numbered, and if he fights anyone a level or two above, he's going to lose. But obviously, he's secured himself another payday somewhere in 2022. What did you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.